Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, joined by the MVP, Most Valuable Pete. Hey, Pete, what's up today?
Not much, buddy. How are you?
I have to say, it never gets old. Saturday morning, and that means it is our weekly stream or skip segment. I introduce it, as I just have, and then I let you let it rip, where you remind everybody, returning listeners and new listeners, what exactly is the concept behind our stream or skip segment.
All right. So Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows for each other to watch. Every week we randomly assign each other one of those shows. We watch 2 episodes if it's a series, 30 minutes if it's a feature, and on that basis we determine if that show is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Man, we are locked and loaded today. Shall I go first?
Please do.
I had on Paramount Plus the spin-off / sequel, Dutton Ranch, which was originally supposed to be season 6 of Yellowstone, Kevin Costner's Yellowstone. But instead, it's kind of now a spin-off called Dutton Ranch. And it follows, if you've seen Yellowstone, you know these characters. It follows Beth and Rip as they have relocated to Texas. And in episode 1 and episode 2, you will find out a little bit about the backstory in terms of how they and why they relocated from Montana to Texas. Everything else is kind of the same. This is at the very end, follows the season or the series finale of Yellowstone. So there's only Beth and Rip. We're not introduced to any of the other Yellowstone characters except for their kind of adopted son, Carter.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
But he's kind of all grown up now. So we pick up with them in Texas. To summarize, it's a lot of the same as Yellowstone, whether you liked it or didn't like that model. There's a lot of violence for farming or ranching, you could say. There's always kind of a little plot in terms of people scheming against each other. There's rivalries between the ranches and generally a lot of punching and dust-ups and stuff like that. Beth is as Beth as always, and Rip is as Rip as always. Carter now, because he's a little bit older, he figures a little bit more prominently. He's got a girlfriend and he's got his own stuff. But the real additions are there's a rival now ranch to Beth and Rip's new Texas ranch, and it is owned by Annette Bening and her son, Jai Courtney.
Annette Bening and Jai Courtney.
Yeah. So
okay.
Annette Bening plays a character named Beulah Jackson. She is, I guess, kind of widowed. She's got 2 sons, but Jai Courtney is the more prominent kind of problem child son. Also starring Ed Harris as a veterinarian who has a little bit more of a prominent role than you would imagine just based on him being a vet. So I watched the first 2 episodes. It's on Paramount Plus. I liked Yellowstone. I don't think Yellowstone was without any warts or issues. It could be extraordinarily violent for something that allegedly took place in a very low population state. There seemed to be a lot of just significant schemes going on in the background. And if you like Beth and Rip as a couple, then obviously this is very faithful to that. If you're kind of tired of Beth's constant, I don't know, she's so melancholy, right? And Rip is so few words, right? Strong and silent type.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you like their dynamic, you will definitely like this is a continuation of that. If you find that Beth is just kind of always weeping and crying and Daddy, I miss you, blah, 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 you'll be annoyed by her persona in this as well. I kind of fall somewhere in the middle. It's very well done, and I think The most important point is if you loved or liked Yellowstone, you will love or like Dutton Ranch. If Yellowstone was not for you, nothing about Dutton Ranch will change that. There's a difference of characters, yes. So maybe you love Ed Harris, or maybe you love Annette Bening, or maybe you love Jai Courtney. So you would tune in for that reason. But generally, in terms of storyline, in terms of, how it is, there's not a lot of, most of the scenes are outside in a barn, in a rodeo, right? It's very similar to Yellowstone. So, I mean, if you like the setting, if you liked, the overall cinematography and what they presented, then you like Dutton Ranch. It's not like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon where like everything takes place downstairs, inside, in a dungeon, dark. It's kind of the opposite. Everything takes place outside, long panoramas of people riding horses and tending cattle and lots of, big pickup trucks pulling in and pulling out. As much as I really enjoyed Yellowstone, and I think there's something to say for Yellowstone being a must subscribe, I'm a little bit over that genre now. So I would give personally Dutton Ranch a mooch, not because I don't think it's a fantastic show, which remains very faithful to Yellowstone, but just because it doesn't really move the needle for me personally. It's not expanding my horizons. It's not challenging my imagination. It's not really giving me anything new. It's just, to be honest, like it was originally slated to be another season of Yellowstone. That's really all it is. So how did you like Yellowstone?
I liked Yellowstone. I didn't mind it. I thought it started to get a little over the top, especially with this
the
military
murders, the suicide,
murders and this and the plotting, and it's just, look, I mean, it makes for good television, but it was really a down-to-earth, grounded drama in the beginning, and it just went way over the top. It went from clashes between the Native American reservation and the quote-unquote white farmer who bought their land for cheap in season 1, all the way to this paramilitary organization has been hired by a private equity firm in New York to kill Kevin Costner so that he's forced to sell the land super cheap, which is, one hell of a jump over 5 seasons.
You're right. I mean, the beginning of Yellowstone was more about the political maneuvering in terms of land rights and focused a little bit more on that. And I understand why they needed to evolve, because you can only do so many panoramas of the mountains before or so many montages, right? It just kind of gets old, and there's only so many times that a calf can get born breech and so on and so forth, right? So I mean, they needed to step it up, and I imagine that Dutton Ranch is going to follow something very similar, that it's now rival ranches in terms of who's going to slaughter my cattle, and am I going to get foot and mouth disease from their cattle that's grazing on my land. And I'm sure it's going to escalate into something far, far more dramatic. So the formula is the same. It just takes place in Texas rather than Montana. So I think that's probably the best indication of whether or not you will love this, like this, or dislike it is your feelings towards Yellowstone. So Annette Bening has replaced Kevin Costner. Jai Courtney is a nice addition, I have to say. That's kind of given it a little bit of a injection of life, because Rip and Beth, honestly, I find them to be a little bit dull. And I mean, Beth is always moping about something. So
right.
That is Dutton Ranch on Paramount Plus.
Okay, so moving swiftly along, and in a way relatively related, I saw a show on Netflix called The Abandons. The Abandons is a Western drama, so think of it kind of like Yellowstone, right? It's a Western drama, but it's set in the 1850s. And it stars Lena Headey, Cersei herself.
Oh yeah, Cersei.
And Gillian Anderson,
X-Files.
X-Files, that's right. So two powerhouse actors, right? Really strong female leads. It's set in, I'm sure they mentioned it, but it was some generic Western silver mining town in North America. Gillian Anderson plays the matriarch who owns the silver mining company that's basically keeping this town afloat.
Okay.
Her mines are starting to produce less, so she wants to go after another parcel of land that is owned by Lena Headey's character. But of course, Lena Headey does not want to give up her land. So it's this drama about how Gillian Anderson is super cutthroat, wants to acquire the land for the silver ore, but because they're not selling, she starts doing all this hanky-panky, like they act as rustlers, and what they do is in the middle of the night they set fire to the ranch, they break out the cattle, and they're just applying a lot of dirty tactics to try to get them to sell.
The way that you're presenting it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't get me wrong. Like, it sounds fine, but so far it's also very generic. Like, this isn't anything surprising. And then, of course, Gillian Anderson has 3 kids or 4 kids. One of them is the kid who's clearly going to take over from the mother because he's got his head on straight. He's the quote-unquote good son. He knows the business. The other is the hot-headed son who's good-looking, but, he acts by the seat of his pants. Then the third is this young girl who also is very adventurous. And because the 3 of them, and because the family is so prominent in town, everyone kowtows to them, including the mayor and the sheriff. And so even though everyone knows that they're the ones behind all the crime, they can't really do anything about it. So like in the first episode, the young hot-headed son sexually assaults one of Lena Headey's daughters, and in that process gets killed. The son gets killed. Okay. So then it becomes a question of, well, we got to hide the body because no one can know that Gillian Anderson's son is dead, and dead because of us, because otherwise we're all toast. And then, of course, Gillian Anderson has questions as to where her son is. She hires a bounty hunter to find him. It's nothing we haven't seen in other shows. The problem is that everyone is super, super, super flat. Lena Headey's character is not great, not likable. Gillian Anderson's character is not great, not likable. I mean, we were talking about Yellowstone a few minutes earlier. Yellowstone, even the guys that were bad guys had good character, Remember when we saw Sawyer from Lost? He was one of the bad guys. And how he was dealt with, like you were like, yeah, that's a compelling bad guy. This is not that great, and I don't know. I saw 3 episodes. No, I saw 4 episodes, and there's only 7.
Whoa!
After the first season, Netflix canceled the second season because it's not been well received. I didn't like it. Like, there was nothing in it that was like, wow, this is a must-watch for me. And I was just struggling to continue watching beyond that. So for me, this is, despite the fact that I watched more episodes than I should have, this is a skip for me.
Oh, it's too bad because I kind of like the storyline. We haven't really
okay.
seen a lot of mining.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We don't really see any mining either, right? It's just unlike Yellowstone where we see a lot of ranching.
Yeah.
Here we don't see anything. We're just told that she's a magnate who owns a silver mine, and that's it.
Mining is not very photogenic, right?
No, not at all.
I mean...
But to be frank, and to be very fair, if you had told me before I saw Yellowstone that you should watch this,
ranching.
I would have said the same thing.
Yeah.
Ranching isn't exactly a sexy or photogenic thing. It's a bunch of guys on horses and cows.
We can kind of call this the Yellowstone effect, right? Where, I mean, there's so many shows about powerful families in New York and Los Angeles and the media industry or the
all a bunch
recording
of white
industry.
collar stuff, right? Like lawyers, media, blah,
exactly.
blah, blah. Exactly.
Yeah. And Yellowstone, I think, was the first. It's hard to say that it broke that genre because I think I said this when we reviewed Yellowstone. It's just Succession in Montana, right? It made people, I think, realize that you don't have to have a show. Apart from Breaking Bad, which was in New Mexico, you don't actually have to have a show that's based either in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, or Miami, right? Those are the only 4 cities, basically, that get any shows, right?
Yeah.
You can have a show based somewhere else, and people will watch it if there's like a compelling hook. And this seems to be one of those attempts at a compelling hook. Like, let's put it in Appalachia. Let's put it in Pennsylvania. We'll make it about mining. Sounds very, very, very compelling if the storyline fits. But I agree. You can't really film a lot in a mine. You can show the people coming in and out and the dirt and stuff, but it doesn't photograph kind of like as beautifully as the panoramas and the mountains of Montana did, right?
Yeah, which is why they probably didn't show any of the mining, and they're just like, here's Gillian Anderson. She's exceptionally well dressed and put together, and it's clear she's got a lot of money. Here's Lena Headey, who's dressed like a cattle rancher, and that's kind of it.
Boo.
It might have become a mooch, but then they canceled the second season, so like all the more reason, like why put effort and time into watching this?
I read somewhere that this had like a huge budget as well. Like it was not like a cheap show.
So
like
I wouldn't be surprised because it looks good. Like it looks really, really good. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, but I don't know. It's just, it didn't do anything for me.
I'm here to save the day. I've done a little bit of extra credit, teacher's pet style. I had a little bit of extra time on my hands this week, so I watched 2 movies on streaming platforms. I will tackle them in order. First, I watched 72 Hours on Netflix, which is the new Kevin Hart film.
Yeah.
Let me summarize. If you like Kevin Hart, you will probably not mind this movie. If you are lukewarm or don't like Kevin Hart, you will hate this movie. I like Kevin Hart, but I think Kevin Hart is funnier when he's paired with The Rock. And on his own, I've never found any of his movies. We watched that one about like they do like this air heist. And we've seen a number of Kevin Hart movies on Netflix. We've never really loved any of his stuff because he's kind of the same character. But I feel like when he's got The Rock to play off of, he's very, very, very funny. When he doesn't have like that counterpart or foil, he's not as funny. 72 Hours, I'll summarize it. Kevin Hart is like an advertising executive. He mistakenly gets invited to like a bachelor party in Miami. Someone like adds the wrong number and he gets invited and he's like, hey, ha ha ha, wrong number. Wish you guys a good time. And in his ad agency, he's having a hard time connecting with young people. So voila, he comes up with the idea that maybe I need to spend more time with young people. I don't know any young people, but I was accidentally invited to this bachelor party. I'll go and I will live through them and vicariously learn how to connect with young people. I'll come back. I'll win this account. Bloody, 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 blah. There are some funny parts, I have to say. Overall, it's pretty formulaic. Kevin Hart, Netflix. I would not say that this is a bad movie. We've seen some really, really bad movies on Netflix, like what's that Santa one with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock? Like that one was horrible. Red 2, something
Red
like
1,
that,
yeah.
right? Red 1, that was horrible. Some of the movies on Netflix have just been like awful, awful, awful. That Angelina Jolie one was awful. This is not awful. I definitely don't think that it's a must subscribe. I'll give it a mooch because there are some funny set pieces, a few funny jokes. And for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, it avoids like bathroom humor. Not R-rated, but it's definitely a little bit aggressive on the PG-13 type side. I would give it a mooch, but it's not without some redeeming qualities, but it's definitely not going to be a memorable movie that you're going to recommend to everyone around you.
Sure.
That is homework number 1, or extra credit number 1. Extra credit number 2 is also a comedy movie. It's on Apple TV Plus called The Dink with Jake Johnson. Also Ben Stiller, also Mary Steenburgen, and Aaron Chen. I don't know if you ever heard of Aaron Chen.
I know Aaron Chen very well.
What do you know him from?
So he is an Australian stand-up comic.
That's right.
And you will remember him because he was one of your stream or skip assignments in Fisk,
100%.
the Australian legal
100%.
comedy.
How do you remember that?
Because I like Aaron Chen's stand-up. It's really good.
First of all, I think The Dink must subscribe. I'm really, really surprised. I just looking at it, I thought it was going to be pretty rubbish. I thought it'd be a skip or a mooch at best. I have to say, it's actually one of my favorite comedies. I think it's really, really well done and clever. And I have to say, the standout performance, without question, is Aaron Chen. Without question. He is like A+, nails every single scene. He's fantastic. So The Dink is generally about pickleball and the clash in a private country club between kind of the traditional tennis players and the up-and-coming pickleball players. And Jake Johnson plays a former child prodigy in tennis who takes up pickleball and so on and so forth. But
Okay.
I have to say, I really, really enjoyed it. I have to say, I think it's a must subscribe. I thought it was very, very clever. I thought it was very, very funny. Not silly, over the top. If I was writing a movie, I would pray that I had the same inspiration or creativity. Like, there were just some really, really funny, like, running gags and jokes and just like scenes. I thought it was really fantastic. And since you and I share a sense of humor, I think that you would equally enjoy it.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. Honestly, it's because I think it's been a long time since I've heard you talk this highly of a new comedy. And generally speaking, I'm far more forgiving about comedies than you are.
Yeah. If you knew Aaron Chen and you thought he was funny because of his stand-up, you will absolutely, absolutely love his character. He just nails every single scene. I would expect after this that he's going to be featured in a lot more, either his own series or in other movies, but he really, really nailed this character. Jake Johnson is very good. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I would say that it was less his character that's funny and more kind of the set pieces, the scenes, like the running jokes. It was very, very well done, I have to say. So that's The Dink on Apple TV Plus, which I give a must subscribe, and 72 Hours on Netflix, which I give a mooch, but if you would skip it, you're really not missing anything. And then, of course, my original assignment, Dutton Ranch on Paramount Plus, which for me is a mooch.
Excellent. I appreciate that. And I will be watching The Dink very shortly, so I will get back to you on that.
What do we have in the next round of Stream or Skip?
What I thought we would do this time that's slightly different is I'm assigning both of us movies on Netflix. You are watching Sacha Baron Cohen's latest movie, Ladies First, and I am watching John Cena's latest comedy, Little Brother.
Man, I love John Cena. All right.
Hey, if you want to swap and watch Little Brother, you watch that and I'll watch Ladies First. Either way, those are the two movies that we have to watch.
I'll do Ladies First, but if I've got some extra time, maybe I'll check out Little Brother as well.
Yeah, okay.
Pete, before we sign off for the day, do you want to read off our YouTube social media creds?
All right, so leave a comment below, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to hit that notification bell so that you know when the next episode of the Films and Stuff podcast drops for you.
Pete, thank you for your contributions today. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. We shall see you next week, next episode, Films and Stuff podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.